A while later, Doug heard a low, guttural sound coming from the tree line. This was followed by stomping and then movements. It felt like something heavy was running toward the lake and it jumped in the water. No one ever saw the mysterious creature, but Doug could feel the hair on his neck stand a little bit. Doug continues to narrate how the creature would run up and down into the lake 3 times. However, what was strange was that it appeared as if the creature was not alone. Doug explains how he could hear 2 voices, as if 2 creatures were communicating. He believes that the high-pitched noise belonged to a female, while the lower one was a male. Doug says that the creatures raised their voices and then left. This information horrifies Bryce as he realizes that he must be dealing with a very intelligent creature. Doug confirms this and mentions that the area where they had their encounter is a hotbed of Bigfoot activity and weird things happen there. This scares Bryce, who has part of his team down in that area. He is worried about what might happen. He also knows that dealing with intelligent creatures is so dangerous since they can walk right into the creature's trap. An intelligent creature might prove more dangerous, and Bryce hopes that his team realizes what they are dealing with. As the night crawls in, Russell continues walking stealthily to avoid spooking the creature. At this point, he believes he is almost catching up with the creature. He finds fresh marks on the ground, observing how the soil appears to have been thrown around. Suddenly, a tree falls just a few meters from him. This scares him and his cameraman so much that they have to duck for cover. Once everything is calm, the ever-adventurous Russell runs toward the tree to examine it. He finds that the bark is still fresh, meaning that the tree has not fallen from being rotten. He continues examining the tree and discovers that the tree must have been pushed for it to have fallen in such a way. He looks up at the canopy and confirms that it is windless. This new discovery leaves him both excited at the prospect of making a new discovery and worried at what this new discovery entails. Elsewhere, Ronnie and Maria have split up so they can cover more ground in their hunt for the upside-down trees. The locals believe that the trees hold a significant cultural meaning to the creatures in the forest. Maria is walking toward 2 suspected targets, and she knows how important it is to be cautious, since this is a dangerous area. Ronnie will cover the 3rd location, and hopefully, the 2 will find what they need. Ronnie is making his way through the dense trees, hoping that with every step, he draws closer to the truth. Ronnie explains that such upside-down trees have been spotted in forests all over North America. However, it is still not evident how these trees came into existence. Kelsey had mentioned that there appeared to be no mechanical interference on the trees, meaning that humans did not interfere with the upside-down trees. However, Maria is not so convinced about this and intends to find out the upside-down trees' mystery. Maria knows that she cannot dismiss the fact that people could have planted those trees. She is determined to find out the truth. Soon, she spots the first tree and assumes that its position is what made it to be identified as an upside-down tree. Since this one is not upside down, Maria decides to move to the second one. Ronnie explains that the area they are in is believed by locals to be the Bigfoot area. The locals believe that Bigfoot or Kushtaka have a special part of the forest where they inhabit, so the locals stay away from such areas. Doug explains that in that area, so many strange things have happened, highlighting the need to be cautious. He gives a story of school kids who had gone camping out there. However, huge rocks were thrown at them, clearly insinuating that they weren't needed there. Doug ends his narration by asking Bryce and his team to be careful. He has heard stories that the Kushtaka are shapeshifters, and they take the form of people close to you. He asks Bryce not to follow anyone in the woods who isn't supposed to be there. Maria continues on to the next target, but she soon realizes that it's another dead end. The trees in the area form some sort of canopy that could be mistaken for an upside-down tree. Suddenly, she hears noises and feels as if something is moving in the woods. Maria looked around and found evidence that something had passed through the woods. She follows the tracks, watching with her thermal camera, but she doesn't pick any heat signature. Maria explains that her mind is on high alert not only for Bigfoot but for bears and wolves, as they are plenty in the forest. Similar to Maria, Ronnie isn't having much luck at his location. Suddenly, he turns around, and what he sees shocks him to his very core. There's an upside-down tree right before him. As he examines the tree, he concludes that they now have evidence of more than 2 upside-down trees, meaning that there probably is a pattern. He knows that this area might be a key component in giving them the answers that they've been looking for. He excitedly reports to Maria what he has just found. Back at the command center, Bryce finds that the results of the hair sample Maria had found are out. He explains that the lab responsible for conducting the DNA testing often works with the police department, so its results are accurate and reliable. The lab specializes in mitochondrial DNA, which tests the smaller DNA found in hairs and helps identify the animal species. Bryce calls the project manager, Gloria, to ask more about the results. She explains that the samples were good and the hair was white. The narrator explains how in 2015 there had been a Yeti expedition where various hairs had been analyzed and proven to be Yetis. Gloria explains how the testing works to Bryce. First, they check if the hair sample matches a human being, and then they proceed to other animal species. In this case, Gloria excitedly reports that they found no species on their vast database matching the hairs. There might be reasons for it, so they will continue testing the hair, but so far, no animal matches the hair. This is intriguing since Bryce feels that they are now close to finding what they've been looking for in Alaska. Back in the target area, Russell finally makes it to the location he had seen the creature in. He is very careful and walks slowly since he can feel that he is drawing closer to finding the creature. Ronnie looks around and sees a half-eaten skunk cabbage. Skunk cabbages are a type of vegetable with a bad smell, and it appears like the creature Russell had been following is fond of these. He notices that there are so many of the skunk cabbages around, and it appears as if something was just feeding on them. Russell wants to follow the food and see where that takes him. He believes that the creature they had been following was just at the location and it couldn't have gotten far. Sadly, the area is quite wet, so Russell cannot set down his materials and investigate with thermal cameras. However, he observes what appears to be handprints on the ground, explaining how it looks like something was trying to dig out a skunk cabbage. Suddenly, Russell hears flowing water and walks toward the sound, closely finding a small waterfall. Russell is excited as he explains that this place is perfect for Bigfoot. It has water and food and is secluded. Russell then spots a cave which heightens his curiosity. He has seen such a cave before, but this time he feels drawn to it. He feels that this would be a perfect hiding spot and suspects that the creature was hiding inside. Russell explains that if whatever they have been chasing all day and night is in the cave, he is about to have a meeting with it. He walks toward the cave, ignoring any sense of danger. That has been the episode Bigfoot Demon in the Dark. Thank you for watching. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel for such amazing mysteries. See you in the next video. Maria knows that there is something out there, as confirmed by Bryce and the fixed-wing drone, so they have to change their direction. It is then that Russell suddenly spots a figure on top of a ridge, just kind of dropping over the horizon. The cameraman confirms that he also spotted something that was walking on its twos and then suddenly ducked down. Maria has an idea that Glacier has deep crevices that humans sparsely explore, so that might be the perfect place for a Bigfoot to hide. Meanwhile, Bryce and Ronnie are still looking into the forest. It is then that Ronnie spots a claw mark on a tree and excitedly calls upon Bryce to check out his fresh finding. Now that can be the claw mark of a bear, but Ronnie is pretty much positive that it isn't because bears usually leave parallel lines. Ronnie is certain that whatever carved those lines looks to be really strong, big, and incredibly tall. Bryce remembers a witness telling him that bears usually make scratching sounds with their claws, but that thing usually claws out, making a sound as the whole trailer has gone wild. Soon they hit a trail with visible tracks, and Bryce feels that they are closer to their major discovery. However, to their dismay, there is nothing but a rocky clearing by the river stream with no tracks. Bryce hopes Russell and Maria have better luck than them. In pursuit of whatever they spotted on top of the ridgeline, Russell and Maria completed a dangerous climb to the top of the glacier. Russell is worried that if that creature escaped into the interior, they would never be able to find it. Maria shivers due to the freezing cold and remarks that it can be a brutal environment for any animal to live in. A glacier doesn't really seem to be an area for a large primate to survive. But if it is being used as a conduit to another place or as a hiding place, then that can be a possibility. Russell knows that locating the tracks will be a toil on that slippery Alaskan snow. Russell and Maria decide to stick to the path of the water stream, as most animals will follow those waterways, and Lucille is certain that the Bigfoot will be doing the same. The duo spots an ice cave, and Maria comments that it can be a shelter or a hiding place for the creature. They both decide to hit the cave precariously. Maria knows that a glacier is always in motion, and an ice cave like this can form quickly and go on for miles. They have no idea when it was formed and how stable that is, but at this moment, That is the only place an animal would run to from the position that it was spotted. They also find a fresh stream of water, and Russell comments that it is a huge find because if an animal wants to survive in this kind of environment, it would try to find a shelter like that cave, which also acts as an escape route. The amount of running water in this cave will match the sound of anything coming through here, as well as erase any footprints or anything left behind. Still, they are unable to find any tracks, but they keep on moving. Later, the cave opens to a vast clearing, and Mireya predicts that the creature is going to keep moving south, where they are going to get more darkness. Here, they are talking about a mountainous landscape 3 times the size of Texas, so their chances of getting something on foot are non-existent. The team, with the help of the producers, negotiated with a Juneau-based company to acquire access to a helicopter. The team's goal is to reach the creature before it reaches the great expanse of the interior. Russell comments that once they are out of the snowfield and under the dense forest, they have lost their chance. Mireya remarks that the bright snow is the perfect contrast, and anything walking on it will stick out like a sore thumb. Soon they spot the interior, and with much disappointment, they are unable to see anything worthwhile. Mireya comments that the way science works is that you test, retest, and learn from your mistakes and past failures. According to her, with every failure comes the ability to really build on that, so that the next time they are out, they already have a solid base. With this expedition, they are not coming out empty-handed. 3 weeks later, the team has gone home while Bryce is taking a second look at their findings on the field. He remembers Mireya and Russell leaving some really sensitive microphones outdoors, and those really picked up sounds all the time they were out in the wild. He listens to those recordings again and again and finds some indistinct humanoid voices, as if the Bigfoots are talking. Bryce insists that these recordings were taken in the middle of the night, the entire time they were out in that area, and they didn't come across any other souls. So he doubts whether the voices belong to some hunter or hiker. To confirm his allegations, he consults Dr. Ronald Cosper. If you are enjoying it so far, make sure to subscribe to the channel. After gaining his master's in linguistics from Cornell University, Dr. Ronald Cosper built a career out of studying rare and complex languages. In 2018, he published a study based on the notorious case of Albert Ostman, a Canadian prospector who was allegedly kidnapped and held captive by Bigfoot for days. Based on the testimony of Ostman, Cosper believes he has translated several words spoken by the beasts. Bryce has already given Cosper his analysis, and the latter confirms that the voice recordings definitely sounded hominid or near human to him. Bryce inquires whether Cosper was able to decipher any possible words coming out of the Bigfoot's mouth. Cosper replies that he certainly was able to figure out waves, flat, and kumba. However, the amount of noise and distance have to be kept in consideration. Cosper then makes the startling revelation that there were 2 Bigfoots instead of 1. The words flat and waves were said by one individual, while kuma was said by another individual. Cosper's deciphering actually matches the findings of the team, because they also found multiple hand and footprints while on a search trail. Bryce then asks Cosper whether Bigfoots are capable of language, and the latter replies that Yowies, who are the Australian version of Bigfoots, do converse in a peculiar language when in a group. Soon the team is walking away from Alaska with possible audio evidence, screams and howls, and 3D scans of footprints and handprints. This means that their work has just begun.